Boom! What is cooling? What's going on? Just warm up the hands, I guess. I don't know what that was. But all we need now is a little Faith Hill coming on here with a little before mock draft singing, and we're good to go, right? No, if only. But what is cooling? What's going on? We have 2 round Tuesday. Let's get right into it because look who's on the clock here at number 1 overall. This is my own draft order. It's very similar to yesterday's draft order, slight little tweaking. But the Titans are on the clock at number 1 overall. We are selecting Rueben Bain Jr. He is the bane of existence for offensive tackles in college football right now. And also, there are no trades in this mock draft. So I just said to myself, let's go ahead and attack the edge rush. Let's get some more penetration on that defensive line. They need help. And that is what we're doing with Bain juicing up there to give Batman trouble over in that division between Indiana Jones, all the quarterbacks there, CJ Stroud, and also Trevor Lawrence. But the Bengals now are on the clock, and we're going offensive line. I cannot look past the offensive line and the fact that I don't care what position on the offensive line, just take somebody and figure it out. Spencer Fanu, right tackle Utah, we'll move Amarius Mims to left tackle, or we'll put Amarius at guard. Orlando Brown Jr. hasn't been playing amazing either, so to me, they just need offensive line help. Their interior is not good. Their tackle position's not good. Let's go get Spencer Fanu, the most athletic tackle in this draft class. The dude is a monster, has a tremendous upside. Just got to clean up some more things in his game, specifically the hand technique. You go and take a look at maybe the Romello height stuff. I think that the lack of length shows up at times. These are nitpicking issues, so that's why he needs to be a little more of a technician with his hands. You're going to hear some Zach Tom comps to it, Spencer Fanu, because I think that is really a lot what he looks like. Penei Sewell, Zach Tom. Trying to think of these athletic, really maneuverable offensive tackles, and I think Spencer Fanu is in that next level, that next tier. On to the Cleveland Browns at number 3. I'm going with Dante Moore. We're going back to Oregon for another quarterback. Deja vu, you're saying to yourself, why they just took an Oregon quarterback? We're taking another one. The smoke clears, and you get Dante Moore in here, who I think could be a franchise quarterback. This is maybe a little bit of an Oregon Duck bias, but I think Moore has been the best quarterback in college football thus far this season. It is still too early to tell, and we need to see more tape on Dante Moore. He got his first glimpse of big competition versus Penn State. It wasn't perfect, but I thought he was very much a clutch at the big moments. He made plays, whether it was with his legs or with his arm. He's accurate. He's very poised in the pocket, and a guy that I think can continue to improve his processing a little bit, has all the makings to be that franchise guy. It is too early to go quarterback at this point for Cleveland. We need to see Gabriel. We need to see Shador. But for the time being, why the heck aren't they getting those guys out there? They need to. On to the New Orleans Saints. Number 4. Where are we going? We're going to the quarterback position here. If you take a look at the quarterback room, you got Shuck, you got Spencer Rattler. Are those guys the reason why this team is as bad as they are? No, they need more help, and I totally get that. I just think Lenore Sellers at this point, at where we're picking at number 4, with Rueben Bain off the board, it just makes sense to go ahead and take a chance on a quarterback here. And if you're picking in the top 5, that tells me that you tried out Shook at some point. It is a projection. Like, I really need to see Tyler Shook. Not about T. I don't know when I'm mixing up rhymes or mixing up words, but Lenore Sellers would just be the guy where I'm like, all right, we're going to take a chance on an upside here. This guy's got a monster arm. He's one of the toughest quarterbacks that you can tackle in all of college football. He has the little bit of the Cam Newton vibes to his game, an all-around playmaker. And you see what happens when this guy is on the field for the South Carolina Gamecocks compared to when he is not on the field. So just go check out that Vanderbilt tape when he's on there versus when he's not on there. Lenore Sellers is kind of like the Bengals out here. When Joe Burrow's not there, it's a different team. On to the Carolina Panthers. And we're flying in here to number 5, Fernando Mendoza, the Hoosier. The exact opposite. We did this yesterday. He's basically the exact opposite of Bryce Young. He's got that big monster stature build, nice solid arm talent, and he's a Hoosier guy, so I got to respect that. I'm a Hoosier grad, not technically from Indiana, but the 2 Mendoza brothers over there, I love it, man. I love it here in Indiana. On to the New York Football Jets at number 6 overall. And we are going to be taking Caleb Downs, right? No, we're going with Jordan Tyson. A little bit of a shocking maneuver here for the Jets, Jets. I like Jordan Tyson. He's an absolute stud. I like Caleb Downs. He's an absolute stud. I'd say safety is a bigger need for us than wide receiver. But right now, who's that other weapon that we have? I mean, it's nobody right now. It's Garrett Wilson, and teams are just taking away Garrett Wilson. And Mason Taylor's coming along. He had his best game, I feel like, of the season versus the Dolphins. Overall, it is still something that this team could use another wide receiving option. Jordan Tyson is a very good prospect. It was a tough one because Caleb Downs would be a great selection for us too. We do need a safety. Both really good options, but wide receiver gets paid a little more, so I figured, we'll go that route, right? On to the Raiders here at number 7. We're going ahead and taking some defensive tackle, and Peter Woods, the defensive tackle from Clemson, great prospect. The dude is so strong at the point of attack. He's an instant block shedder. He can get after the quarterback. They just need help in multitude areas on their roster, whether it's defensive line, whether it's cornerback, whether it's offensive line. Like offensive line, we'll definitely be looking at in the second round. We need help on this roster. So let's do that. The Finns at number 8 got their first win of the season. Unfortunately, it did come at the cost of some injuries, such as Tyreek Hill. It sucks. And we are going to go ahead and maybe even have to consider taking a wide receiver. But with Tyson off the board here, I mean, Mekhi Lemon would be a fun option, but I'm going ahead and take Caleb Downs. Ideally, maybe just the best prospect available on the board at this point, in my opinion. And Caleb Downs slides right into that secondary and ends up being a baller for this football team. Pair him up with Minka, you get yourself a good 1-2 punch in that back end corner. Definitely an option too. I would see, Jamad McCoy, Keith Abney, Mansour Delane, all those guys make a lot of sense. I'm just taking Downs because that guy is a rock star over for the Ohio State University. But now we switched over into the New York Football Giants. Kind of matching over here, a little bit lighter the blue, but we're going to go ahead and take the right tackle, Francis Maui. I know this pick probably gets boring for you Giants fans. Like, geez Louise, G-Sling, are you ever going to mix it up for us? Are you ever going to give us anything different? No. I want offensive line. I want right tackle. Maui Noah is a perfect addition. Can be this team's Darnell Wright. Very much reminds me of that. He has a little bit of a Darnell Wright mixed with a Troy Fautanu type of style. He kind of looks like Troy Fautanu, but he plays and has the kind of the strength of Darnell Wright. His hand technique is very good, kind of reminiscent of Fautanu. Not quite as good as Fautanu. It definitely does not have the athleticism of Fautanu, but I think he can hang at right tackle still, even though the athleticism and lateral agility isn't perfect. But on to the skull. At number 10, we are going to be taking cornerback, Jamad McCoy. Somebody that gives them a little more size in that cornerback room, which is, if you take a look at their room, maybe something that they're lacking. You can put Byron Murphy in the slot. Then you have McCoy pairing up there with Rodgers. That would be your two outside duo. Little combination in that cornerback room. It's a good football team, and they're really in a spot where you just go BPA on this roster. And I think McCoy is a top 5 talent in the draft class if it weren't for the injury. We'll see if he plays this season, and that's going to be a big question on McCoy. But yeah, I'm going to go ahead and take one of the top players in the country, and especially for as good of a roster there. I know you're probably saying, injury concerns, another injured corner. I know, but it is what it is. On to the Rams, and this is from the Atlanta Falcons. I am taking Trevor Gooseby, the tackle there from Texas. He has right tackle and left tackle experience. So it just makes this pick a little bit easier for me because I say, hey, he has right tackle experience. Let's put him over there for Rob Havenstein. They need to think about that for the long haul. Center could be something they get, not number 11 or nothing, but, once again, even though Sheldon is under contract after this season. On to the Cardinals here at number 12. We're going to go ahead and talk about a little bit of a Boston accent. I don't know. This is from Arizona, but Caleb Lomu from Utah. They're going to be coming over to Arizona. Not too far of travel for him. And end up being their right tackle of the future. Super athletic guy. Somebody that can be that right tackle of the future for Jonah Williams going into a contract season. They need to improve their offensive line actually a little bit. It's taking a step back this season. Their interior is another area that could be a possible improvement for this football team going into the offseason. Now, we shift to the Houston Texans. Their offensive line, of course, is something that gets talked about quite a bit. They had their best showing of the season. Yeah, I beat versus the Tennessee Titans. We're going to go on the defense. We're going to go take one of the best players in the country, Arvell Reese, linebacker, The Ohio State University. What isn't there to say about Arvell Reese? What does he not do? I mean, seriously, the guy plays everywhere. He is just a jack of all trades, absolute beast. He can do it all. And he's somebody that's going to be able to get after the passer, drop back into coverage. He is a menace. And it doesn't take long to realize Sonny Styles, Arvell Reese, those two guys make tons and tons of plays. His impact is always felt, making always around the football. On to, and I think you pair him up with what they have in Azeez Ojahir. I think that would make sense. Like a combination, Henry To'oTo'o would be your number 2 or number 3, like backup linebacker there. On to the New England Patriots now at number 14. I'm going with Keldrick Falk, edge rusher from Melbourne. I'm going to add some more pass rush into this room. Great run defender, and definitely has all the tools to be the next Mikael Williams type of prospect in this draft class. And Mikael Williams working out pretty good for the 49ers. Hopefully Keldrick Falk can do the same, and I don't see why he can't. I think there's just so many similar traits. Really good football player. Continue to bolster up the pass rush. It's a Vrabel. Build the trenches, build the defense. Let's go. That just makes too much sense for me. So, yeah, let's do it, man. Let's do it. Sometimes the make sense picks, you got to do it. On to the Cowboys here. Jerry Jones. What was Jerry doing? Jerry's thinking to himself, okay, we're gonna do something wild, right? We're gonna go crazy. No, we're just gonna go ahead and take a corner. Keith Abney II. Even though I thought about getting interesting with this one, I'm like, what should we do? We go wide receiver over here. Now, George Pickens at a monster week. Maybe he doesn't get re-signed, and then they could consider a Mekhi Lemon at the point, or possibly even a Carnell Tate. But I'm gonna go Keith Abney. Not overthink this one. Let's improve the secondary. It's the fireworks. You can see it in the background. They are happy. Hopefully, Cowboys fans happy. I think Abney's an absolute stud and one of the most fluid cornerbacks in the entire draft class. Then we shift to the Bears. Number 16, right in the middle of the first round. We are going to be taking Jeremiah Love. I like to call him Air Love. The dude is liftoff. He's NASA. He's Tom Hanks. He's going to be run Forrest all day and liftoff, Apollo 30, all the Tom Hanks movies out here. But Jeremiah Love, add that beast running back in here. I do like Monungai a lot, but he just cannot pass protect. That's really the problem. So I really see him as more of a complementary piece. Let's get Air Love in here. They could use an upgrade in that room. So let's do it, man. On to the Seattle Seahawks at number 17 overall. And we're going to be taking Mansour. He's like a monsoon of the cornerback room in this class. He's somebody that he tears it up, man. He's been really, really good. Lights out. It's a rainy day for whichever receiver has to go against this guy because it's being blanketed. Mansour Delane has absolutely been a baller this season. And from LSU, let's bring him here to Seattle at number 17 overall to be the Tariq Woolen replacement. He's also been better in run defense, which I know Woolen's not Woolen struggled a bit in coverage too. So he's also been picked on at times, but he's also had some good plays. He's typically a really sticky corner and everything like that. So I'm not going to give him tons of flack for that. But on to Pittsburgh. Johnny Mateer. I was waiting for it to come. I love John Mateer, one of my favorite players in this entire draft class. I think John Mateer is somebody that I still want to see more. All right. And the NFL projection for him is very dependent on where he goes. You could say that about any prospect in general, but quarterback sometimes is the most dependent on that. I just think John Mateer, though, he has got some of the most talent in this entire draft class. It just comes down to, can he iron out some of those Johnny Manziel type of tendencies to his game? But he plays like Patrick Mahomes and a little bit of Baker Mayfield combined into one. We'll see what happens if Mateer comes out. That injury has basically kind of lowered it basically at this point. At number 18, I feel like it's a good solid ranking at the time. But for right now, we'll see what happens. The dude is tough as nails, though, and I can't wait to see what happens with John Mateer. The dude is going to be a very polarizing player as we get into this process even more. I'm a huge fan. When it comes down to like my actual like quarterback rankings, Mateer is going to be up there, right there with guys like Darian Mensah, maybe Dante Moore, Drew Allar. We get into Mendoza's and stuff like that. Like Mateer's right there. On to the Broncos at number 19, getting a win over the Bengals. And the Bengals, ooh, man, it was tough. But watching that game, you got Connor Lew. And you're probably thinking to yourself, what are you doing here, G Sling? I didn't even see this one before. I think their offensive line, even though it's been very, very good, they're getting a little bit older now on that front. And you go into next year, everybody on that offensive line is going to be over 29 years old, I believe. Wattenberg's a free agent. So, I mean, yeah, it's not like that they have to go after a center. You got Forsythe in there. We'll see. But I think Lou would be a plug and play starter at the center spot for them and give them some more young talent on that offensive line. You can't just let everything go, even though you can figure this sort of thing out. But in maybe like 2 or 3 seasons, you start saying to yourself, oh, we need 4 or 5 offensive linemen if we don't start doing something here this year, next year, to start investing in the future of the offensive line. And that's why I think this pick makes a lot of sense for this football team. I'm doing it. I'm rocking it in. It's already done. You can see it. It's in the pictures. On to the Commanders here at number 20. T.J. Parker, edge rusher from Clemson. He hasn't quite had the season that we were all looking for, but he's still super talented. He's that bull rusher. Hopefully can be this team's Jared Verse. I don't want to compare him to Jared Verse. I think Jared Verse is on a different level, but maybe you can get, you're hoping somewhat like a Jared Verse with his speed to power combo off the edge, and they need more pass rush to go along there with Armstrong. Their lack of pass rush in terms of contract, the guys that are under contract of this season is very, very thin. It's like Jean Baptiste and also Armstead. So that's why I figured let's continue to bolster the pass rush and keep that going. Cornerback's an interesting spot too, but with like the top 3 corners off the board, I'm like, we're all right. And I think Amos has played really, really good. So I feel like Amos can be this team's number 1 corner going down the line. On to the Ravens, number 21 on the clock. I think it comes down to offensive line or defensive line. We're going defensive line. Caleb Banks is a stud. The injuries, it kind of is what it is. That foot thing, that's going to have to be something that gets vetted out for sure because it's been lingering. It's been a problem. He's had to have surgeries on it. So I think that's going to be a big question, and that's why he falls. For me, he's a top 10 player in the draft class. He's one of the most disruptive guys, period, in this entire draft on the defensive line. And it just sucks that he re-aggravated versus LSU, and we're going to have to continue to watch and monitor where that comes. But for the Ravens, I think you're getting a top 10 talent here at pick number 21. And they need to continue to bolster their defensive line. With now you have Madubuike on IR too, which sucks, and Washington as well. So they're banged up. They're really injured. They need a little more depth. You got Peebles, but yeah, they need to add more depth onto this defensive line. I think Banks could do that. 49ers. A lot of areas the 49ers could go. And just get ready for this one. All right, 49ers fans, before you go crazy, I'm just going to give you a minute, all right? Sit down. If you're a Niners fan, you may need to sit down on this pick. You're like, oh no, what's happening here? I'm going Dylan Thieneman from Oregon. He stays close to home over here, stays over on that west side, the Bay Area. And Thieneman has been an absolute monster for Oregon this season. Been one of the best players in college football. Obviously, the game sealer versus the interception and Drew Allar. He could have had another interception in that game very easily. He has been really, really good for the Ducks. And somebody that you pair him along with Mustafa. And yes, you got Tanner, you got Ingold, who they drafted from Kansas State, and he's been solid and everything. Or Siegel, pardon me, not Tanner Ingold, but Marquez Singh. I was like, that doesn't seem right. You got Siegel. I've seen him make some plays. I've seen him get beat at times this season in coverage. He's been pretty good, especially for a rookie, so I don't want to harp on him too much. However, I do think Thieneman can take that safety room to the next level. Jair Brown hasn't really worked out for them, so that's kind of where I'm at with this one. Is it their biggest need? No. I just think that Thieneman's been really, really good. I want to kind of highlight him. And there's different ways this Niners team could go. I mean, they could invest in a tackle of the future, depending on how Trent Williams goes along. He is under contract for 1 more year, but maybe we'll look at that in the second round. Is that not a first round need? Who knows? You could look at even anything like a wide receiver. If they want to trade Brandon Ayuk, then you got Slick Rick. I mean, he's been really good this season. There's multitude of areas that they could go. Kittle's under contract, but they could go Kenyon Sadiq, the teammate of Dylan Thieneman. So there's a lot of possibilities. Defensive tackle, if one of those guys is available, falls and possibilities. So I just want to try something different here. Going Dylan Thieneman. Chargers, the Bolts. I'm going to go ahead and take some defensive line. David Bailey just seems like a Harbaugh defensive guy. Jesse Minter, somebody with some absolute speed to his game, can be a disruptor off the edge. They need some more help off the edge. So besides Tui Pelotu, unfortunately, Khalil Mack being injured now, they could really use at least some more depth on that defensive line. David Bailey's been one of the most dynamic pass rushers in college football. And he's number 23. We're picking at number 23. It was just a little bit of a fit out there, too. LeBron James could be happy with that one. On to number 24 here. And the Cleveland Browns picking from the Jacksonville Jaguars. I'm going Mekhi Lemon. This was just BPA. I think Mekhi Lemon's a top 15 player in this draft class. The guy has been He's been on a tear. Him and Jacoby Lane are both really, really good wide receivers. But Mekhi Lemon, to me, has a little bit of the Jackson Smith and Jigba vibes. And I feel like that he would just be an instant upgrade in this wide receiving room. Jerry Jeudy's had a case of the drops. I mean, their whole wide receiving room's had a little bit of the case of the drops. And part of it's on quarterback play, Joe Flacco, and some is on the receivers, the offensive line. It's not on everybody. I mean, you got Thrash, you got some young guys out here, of course. I just feel like that they could use another weapon in here. So that's kind of the way that I'm going. And I think Mekhi Lemon can be a beast of a weapon for this football team. On to the Bucks at number 25. I'm going to go ahead and take a linebacker, C.J. Allen from Georgia. He's one of the more instinctual run defenders in college football. I think he's just fine. He has a nose and a knack to be around the football field or around the ball carrier. And he just doesn't miss many tackles. That's really what it is with C.J. Allen. So he can be the Levante David replacement. Maybe he can learn for a season. Ideally, bring Levante David back one more year. He can let him develop a little more in coverage. But overall, C.J. Allen's got the goods, man. He's an elite athlete as well. Now we go on to the Detroit Lions. I'm going back to Alabama. I'm taking L.T. Overton, the edge rusher from Alabama, who is going to be somebody that I feel has one of the higher floors out of this edge rushing class in general. Maybe he doesn't have the ceiling of some of these other guys, but the dude is just going to be a very productive player. You pair him up to Aiden Hutchinson, who was ideally he could have been defensive player of the week candidate this week. He was just destroying Cleveland Browns. Yeah, they were backup tackles and Leverston and also Cornelius Lucas, but overall, Hutchinson was insane. But you pair him up with Overton, that would be your 1-2 punch of the future. I really think that would be a nice little combo. Then we go on to the Indianapolis Colts here, and I am going to be taking some linebacker help. Sonny Styles in sunny Indianapolis, where I am right now. I love it. And now we go ahead and a nice little Sonny Styles into the room. As I mentioned earlier with Arvell Reese, I think Styles and Reese are the best 1-2 punch in the nation at the linebacker spot. They've been so good. They're so athletic. They can play all over the football field. They can rush the passer. There's not much that they cannot do. I think Styles is going to be a great combo, too, with Franklin, who's more of the hammer in the middle. Then we go on to the Cowboys, back on the clock here, this time from the pack. And we're going to be taking Kamari Ramsey, safety from USC, one of my draft crushes, somebody that I think is just a phenomenal safety prospect, a little underrated in general. He just has a lot of the things you look for from a safety prospect when it comes to a build, when it comes to an athletic profile standpoint. I mean, he's not the most athletic, but he is a very solid athlete and somebody that just has a nose for the football as a run defender. He can play in the box, can play up top. I think he does his best work in the back end. And I'm thinking to myself, Malik Hooker going to be going into the contract year. Donovan Wilson is in a contract year. They need to invest in the safety room. I think Ramsey would do that and help them out. They need to really invest. So we double dipped the secondary. I just said, you know what? It's their number one need. Let's continue and invest there. On to the Chiefs here, number 29 overall. We are going to be taking edge rusher Mateo Uyunglele. He sounds like a horseback riding name, but he's going to be a nice little horseback, a little pony into their edge rushing room because they need a lot more juice off the edge. And I think that Uyunglele can do that. He fits the Spags mold as well. Good run defender. He has the overall ability as well to be able to bring some juice to their pass rush, which has not been as good as you would want this season. I'll say Spags dials up blitzes as good as anybody. Let's just put it that way. They were getting after Lamar Jackson, but that was more by the way of blitzing and getting creative and stuff like that, which is fine. And it absolutely works, and especially since they've got a good secondary. But why not add a little more pass rush so you don't always have to do that, and you get home with your front four? On to the Rams. We're going to go ahead and go to a quarterback, Drew Allar. I did this yesterday as well, but I love the fit. I really do. This is Allar. I love Allar. I really do. And everything to me, it's like I still think he can be a franchise quarterback. I know Penn State fans are like, oh, what are you talking about? You know what I mean? I don't think you know football clearly. But I don't know. I really still see with Allar. I think that there's a lot to be had. It's not all on Drew Allar. I think some of the play calling isn't perfect. But you see flashes of it. Even going back to the Oregon game, like he put the team on his back there in the fourth quarter, and when it mattered most, except for the end of the game, of course, the interception. But besides that, like I thought he was really good. He used his legs extremely well. He's got a super strong arm. If you can let him develop behind Matthew Stafford for a season, that would be a great scenario for both parties. Now we go on to the Eagles. To me, pass rush is the biggest need, but I'm going to go ahead and take Kenyon Sadiq. Goddard's been unbelievable, but he is a free agent. If they aren't able to retain him, that contract could be a little bit of show me the money, right? And if they aren't able to bring him back, well, Sadiq would be a great replacement here and somebody that is one of the most athletic specimens in all of college football. Bruce Feldman's freaks list, what was it, 41 vertical jump. The guy is an absolute menace, and he shows it on the football field. Such a difficult guy to cover, whether it's safeties, he's too big for those guys, and too fast for linebackers. Then we go on to the Bills. Final pick of the first round. I'm going to go ahead and take a linebacker with Weeks. Be that Matt Milano of the future here. Just had too many injuries in that linebacker room. You pair him up with Terrell Bernard. That would be your 1-2 punch of the future. And Bernard even is injured right now. So their linebacking core could use a little bit of influx of help. Dorian Williams hasn't quite been maybe what they wanted at this point. He's not been terrible, but I just think that they could use a little bit more help in here. So Whit Weeks gives them that ability in my view. On to round number 2. Now, I don't have pictures here. I apologize. I ran out of time. I got to get the clock running. Got work coming up here soon. So, again, I'll try to work on that, try my best. But Carnell Tate going to be the guy. You can just imagine, right? They're invisible. You know what I mean? It's the Invisible Man over here. Carnell Tate, that's a good movie. Both. I haven't seen the original, but I saw the newer one, the newish one. It was really good, but very, very intense movie. Carnell Tate here, wide receiver from the Ohio State University. That's all I need to say, right? It's the Ohio State University. They produce wide receivers every single season. It seems like next year going to have number 1 overall pick possibly there. Carnell Tate, wide receiver, add in here, can be that outside weapon, and hopefully like a T. Higgins for them. Speaking of T. Higgins, you got to get the ball to him, right? I mean, right now, Jake Browning missed him a lot last night. And with this pick here, I'm taking interior offense line, Caleb Tiernan. Yeah, I'm going back-to-back offensive line. I'm double dipping because enough's enough with this offensive line. It is so bad. And it's definitely a top 5 worst offensive line in the NFL, in my opinion. And the way I'm looking at this right now is I draft Spencer Fanu, put him at left tackle. I'm totally fine with that. I really am. No issues with that. You can keep Mims over right tackle, and then we can rock out with Tiernan at guard. I think with the lack of arm length, going to move him to the inside. You have Fairchild left guard, so Tiernan can be your right guard. And then you at center, hopefully Matt Lee can take that step and be the center of the future. I like Matt Lee a lot. I do think he has the potential to be the center of the future. Either which way, let's go to the offensive line. I just don't know if Orlando Brown Jr. is worth the contract that he's being paid, or if he's he's playing up to that. So that's kind of my opinion, and that's why you put Fanu over there at left tackle. Do what you got to do, though. Figure it out. I just think they need to improve their offensive line so bad this offseason. Coaching might be another one of those things, too. It's like typically the elite coaches, the good coaches, their team doesn't fall apart even when you lose your franchise quarterback. I mean, that's a testament how good Joe Burrow and what he means here for Cincinnati, but man, it's rough. It's rough right now. On to the Browns here at number 35. We are taking tackle Drew Shelton, one of the most underrated tackles, I feel like, in the draft class right now. I think his hand technique is really good. Maybe just rivals, guys like Caleb Lomo isn't quite that level yet, but he's pretty dang good. I think Shelton is a very athletic guy, too. One of the more athletic tackles in this draft class. Really a big fan of Shelton and his pop on contact, too. And the way he utilizes hands as just like tactical weapons out there. So Shelton, keep an eye on him. I think he'd be the future left tackle for this Browns team. On to the Saints now. I'm going edge rusher here. I'm going to take Romello Hyatt from Texas Tech, the edge rusher who has got good length despite being a little bit on the shorter side. And man, he has been such a disruptor out there. Of course, I watched David Bailey and I'm like, oh, okay, yeah, David Bailey's phenomenal. But then I'm like, who's this other guy? I mean, they've got some good dudes. They got that Gil Howard guy. What's his last full name? Like, he's really good. There's another guy that we're going to talk about here very soon, Lee Hunter. I don't want to say it too loud, but he's going to be in this mock draft too, who's absolutely fantastic as well. Their defensive line is full of athletes from top to bottom. The Saints can use another one. Chase Young is injured right now. I get that, but they could still use more pass rush, and I'm going to go and take Romello Hyatt. Shifting on to the Carolina Panthers at number 37 overall, where we're going to go ahead and grab an inside linebacker, Anthony Hill from Texas. Hook 'em horns! They need a little more linebacker help. It hasn't really worked out with Wallace thus far. He's still a really young player, but Rosenboom's fine as well. I just feel like that they need an upgrade there. They could really use a dog in the middle of that defense. And I think Hill can be that dog. They've invested a little bit in the secondary in terms of safeties and on the defensive line. So I figured, hey, Let's go to that linebacker position. They need a little more investment there, so we're going to go and rock that out. Jets, Jets, back on the clock here at number 38 overall, and I am going to go ahead and take a safety here. This is a guy that I think is going to be a big-time riser as the season goes along, as we get into the combine especially. Emmanuel McNeil-Warren from Toledo, the Rocket. And whenever you see these guys from small schools come out and start getting some recognition, I think that's huge, right? Because it's sometimes it's hard to get noticed. But ultimately, I think this guy is somebody that not only is a heat-seeking missile, but he's also a ball hawk that can play in the back end. Exactly what I want in this secondary, which is something we need right now. Cisco had a bit of a rough night. Tony Adams has been okay so far this season. I mean, we do have some development there with Malachi Moore, and I like him a lot. I do think he could be the long-term safety for us, but I think Emmanuel McNeil-Warren gives us like that beast in the secondary that we could really use in that back end. On to the Raiders, and so many options to pick from, but I'm going Caden Proctor. I want a bully on the offensive line, right? Caden Proctor is one of the most dominant, like, run blockers, like drive blockers in this entire draft class. I mean, he's not a perfect prospect, but the dude has immense power. You could shift Glaze inside the guard too, possibly. Either which way, I don't care. Like, improve the offensive line. Genty would love that. I mean, if you could Genty just a yard or two extra of crease, it could be a disaster for opposing defenses. They need to improve the run blocking this week was as best as it's been in all of season, but still, they need help. Moving on to the Finns now at number 40, and for the Miami Dolphins, first round we got Caleb Downs. I'm going to go get a wide receiver. I'm going with a guy that has risen up a lot of boards, Chris Brazzell III. He's been transferred around, but he's settled in, and he's been amazing here at Tennessee, and another one of those Tennessee wide receivers, you could say. I get it. And I'm a little skeptical too, but the dude has good athletic traits and somebody that I think can break in his routes as well. He's not just like this go ball specialist or anything like that. Like he has speed. There's no question. He's got big time long strider speed. However, I do think he can sink on routes, and he's somebody that could be an all around wide receiver that could replace Tyreek Hill, because this could be the last season for Tyreek Hill. I don't know how it's going to go this offseason, but they may have to go ahead and make some maneuvers at the wide receiver position. Make some maneuvers. Yeah, we're going to call it the maneuvers. You got to make the maneuvers. Like, who doesn't want to make maneuvers? But Chris Brazzell, I thought would be an interesting little selection here, and especially with the way he played. You go to the Georgia tape, and it was like, oh, wow. Yeah, he was Georgia couldn't stop it. Georgia could not stop Tennessee because of Chris Brazzell getting open deep all game long. On to the G-Men now. On the clock here, we went offensive tackle in the first round, Fancy Mount Noah, but now we're going to the Bearcats. A little bit of an underrated cat here, Jake Gulday. He is an absolute menace. Maybe he can be this year's like Carson Schlesinger, and Schlesinger is one of the best players. Honestly, he could be Defensive Player of the Year. I think he's so underrated right now because he's on the Browns. Schlesinger is unbelievable. Like, he should have been maybe a first-round pick just by watching him, but Golday maybe can be a little bit of that here from Cincinnati. Just a dude that has those hawking traits at the linebacker position, and exactly what I'm looking for a heart and soul linebacker to be. Bobby Okereke, they could move on from him. Micah McFadden's a free agent, so maybe they just keep one of those guys, and they look to the draft here. Mulisau is more of like a third guy, in my opinion. Let's go on to the Vikings. Back on the clock here at number 42 overall, where we are going to be taking an interior defense lineman, Dominique Orange. And maybe he should be playing for the Browns or the Bengals or something like that with that name. But that's okay, because the Vikings can work with that. They can rebrand this. They can figure some things out. I mean, it's okay. Dominique Orange from Iowa State has been really, really strong at the point of attack. He has that low center of gravity. And he's actually gotten after the quarterback, too. He's definitely really stout as a run defender. And they just need a little bit more there. And they also could just use some more youth on that interior defense line. Like, you got Levi Rodriguez, but overall, Drake Rodriguez, pardon me. But yeah, I mean, like, they could use a little bit more youth on that defensive line. Now, there was a standout performer on that defense line. I got to give a shout out to Jalen Redmond. Was really, really good this week. I think he had 2 sacks. I saw him make both of those sacks. Plus, he was a disruptor as a run defender, too, this week. Oh, he was really good. I'm like, dang, who's this guy? What is he, number 61, I believe? But yeah, he was really, really good this season. So I got to give him credit. And we'll see how he comes along, because he might be more than just a backup at some point. Who knows? But I'm going to continue. This is just one of those situations where I'm thinking to myself, all right, let's go ahead and add a little bit more youth to the interior defensive line. I actually see more out of Redmond than I have out of, like, Hargrave this season. I mean, Allen I've seen a little bit here making some nice plays. Overall, though, like I said, I think I've seen Redmond make a lot more plays than any of those guys on the defensive line. On to the Atlanta Falcons with their first pick. Ooh, man, it's going fast here. I can't even, but we're going to go ahead and take cornerback Will Lee the third from Texas A&M, who I think is going to be a shutdown corner, especially versus those bigger physical cornerbacks. And when you look at this division, right, and you think of guys that they have to go up against here on a routine basis, like Tetero and McMillan, even though you got AJ Terrell who can shut guys like that down, but Will Lee gives you a little more of that physicality in there and going to be a good 1-2 punch with AJ Terrell. Mike Hughes, got to think about the long-term possibilities there. Billy Bowman can stay in the slot. You got D. Alford still out there. They're kind of playing in rotation. But Will Lee could finish up that secondary and at least give them a developmental piece in that room to go along with Hughes. That's kind of where I'm at with it at this point. Cardinals. And with the Arizona Cardinals at this pick, we went offense line in the first round. I'm going to add a wide receiver. Like, they need offense in this draft. Their offense right now looks a little boring at times. Casey Concepcion from Texas A&M. Another Aggie off the board here at this point. We probably got another Aggie coming up here really, really soon. But Concepcion has been a monster, not just in the return game, but as a receiver too. He's been a deep threat. There's been a couple passes that aren't even on his stat sheet that Marcel Reed did miss him on this one deep post. He was wide open and had would have bit an easy touchdown for him. And I love Marcel Reed a ton too. He's another guy I think next year watch out for him. But Concepcion has been fantastic and give them a little bit more playmaking ability with Michael Wilson and Marvin Harrison Jr. in the offense. Texans here at pick number 45, and I'm taking Jake Slaughter from Florida, the center. They need help on that interior. Pretty self-explanatory. So we're going to take one here. Slaughter's a great pass protector, can be an ultimate piece there. He's not a bad run blocker either. He's an experienced guy, tried and true. And they've had a little bit of struggle bus developing some of these offense linemen. So I just feel like let's get floor guy here. Slaughter's definitely got that guy who can be a plug-and-play starter for them and be an immediate upgrade. I think he'd be a top 15 center. So just need help on that interior. On to the New England Patriots here. A lot of different areas we could go, but I'm going to go tackle. I'm going to take a right tackle of the future, Isaiah World. He has a left tackle over at Oregon, but the talent and the traits are there. Like, he's just a raw prospect. He reminds me a little bit of, I don't know, maybe Patrick Paul-esque. I don't think he's as bad with his hands as Patrick Paul, even though Patrick Paul's come along this season. He actually looks pretty good, I'll be honest. He's proved me wrong for sure. I mean, not that I say that Patrick Paul couldn't. I just think he was a little bit more of like, people hyping him up to a first rounder. Isaiah World's a guy, I feel like in the same mold as Paul. More of a second round developmental guy who would need a season behind a veteran. So Morgan Moses is still there. Isaiah World, let him develop for a little bit, clean up some of that technique. He's got the length, he's got the size. That is no question about that. He's a good, solid mover as well. On to the Cowboys, and we double dip the secondary. Let's help out the edge room a little more. Cassius Howell's BPA at this point. We're just going all defense out here for the Cowboys, but he's been howling at quarterbacks all season long, and whether it's stopping the run, he's actually been making a lot of big plays stopping the run. So especially you go turn on Notre Dame tape, it's like, oh, there's Cassius Howell. Yeah, so it's like I want to go ahead and add a little more juice in here. You go add him in with Marshawn and then Donovan Ez, and you get yourself a good little combination of three. Now we move on to the Bears. Back on the clock after going air love. I'm going to go ahead and go some defense. I'm going linebacker Torian York from Texas A&M, the Aggie. He is another one of these guys. Super young player, but he's been so impressive since he stepped on as an Aggie as a freshman. He is one of those guys that is going to be a little jackhammer, right? And he's a really athletic jackhammer, by the way. But York is amazing at having to sniff out the ball. Like, he is just going to be somebody that naturally is around the ball carrier. He's a heat-seeking missile, and he's a dominant blitzer as well. So York, add him in there, especially if you go ahead and say to yourself, all right, I mean, Edwards getting a little bit older now. He's still under contract, and so is Tremaine Edmonds. However, they're expensive at that linebacker position. So Edmonds could be a cap casualty, and they could save a lot of money there. So I do think linebacker is something that they need to invest in this offseason period. Then we go on to the Seahawks here, and let's go in offensive line. All right, I'm taking tackle. I'm taking Xavier Chaplin. Left tackle over at Auburn. He would be a little bit of an interesting transition over right tackle. However, he's got the size. He's got the athleticism. He's a little bit raw in terms of his overall like leverage and hands and stuff like that. But the dude definitely has the makings of a really dominant tackle. All the athletic tools. He's like 6'6" range. The dude, official member. I mean, they'll say higher measurements out there, but I think he's more along that like 6'6" range, 6'5". But Chaplin certainly has all like the athletic profile to be a really good tackle, and the power for sure as well. Just kind of like I said, got to get a little bit stronger in the lower half. That's going to be a big thing. Work on the leverage a bit. Then on to the Pittsburgh Steelers at number 50, where we got John Mateer in the first round. Now let's go get some help for Johnny Mateer with Chris Bell from Louisville, the wide receiver. He's got explosiveness, and there are some A.J. Brown vibes to this guy. Now, he's not as good of a contested catcher as A.J. was, and that's something I think he needs to go a little bit stronger with his hands and all those sort of things. But he's no schnuck by any means. And I'm not talking about Schnucks, the grocery store, but I'm talking about Chris Bell. The dude can make some plays, and you get the ball in his hands. Good luck tackling this guy with some steam. Like DK Metcalf, clearly this week. On to the Broncos at number 51 overall, where I'm going to go and take some interior defense line. Caden McDonald. Oh, E-I-E-I-O. He is going to be somebody that I think starts rising up boards here very, very soon. We talked about him a few weeks ago, and I want to bring him back up because he is a menace on that Buckeyes defensive line. He's not necessarily a huge pass rusher or nothing like that, but he can still get after the quarterback. He makes his game as a run defender. He is very disruptive in that department. He can hold the point of attack. He's very strong. He's very stout. He's got that big, wide frame build that you're looking for. So he's not quite like a John Franklin Myers replacement. And John Franklin Myers had another good week this versus the Bengals, and that offensive line, he was feasting. Any which way, like they could improve. They could add more youth into that interior defense line. So that's kind of what I'm doing here by adding K. McDonald. It just gives you more rotation with Jones and Allen. Now we go to the Houston Texans back on the clock. This pick's from the Commanders. And I'm going to go ahead and take interior defensive line as well. And I'm going to take Christian Miller. Another case where, I mean, they've got some guys working out there. I mean, Fadakashi has been good. He had a good week this one. And then you also look at Settle's been strong. But Miller gives them some more youth. And that's still something they need to invest in their interior and think about it for the future. And I do think that it's something that makes a lot of sense here at pick number 52. Miller is a guy, a lot of developmental upside. He's been a stout run defender. Adds a little bit of juice there as a pass rusher, too, if he can get a little bit better, more consistent with his hands. On to 53, Baltimore Ravens. We have to go offensive line. Cade Piper. The Piper has been picked. And I say they picked a lot of the Pipers and Peters Peppers and all those sort of things as long as they could because they need offensive interior. I'm going to go ahead and take the young man from Iowa. He is excellent. I was watching Gennings Dunker, too. He's good. He might be in this mock draft here in a little bit. I'll just say that. But Piper at that right guard position has been really good. Very athletic guy, strong, young player. May not come out this draft. I could see him even coming back another season being a first-round pick. We'll see how things go. But they go back to Iowa, find themselves a nice, strong interior guard to protect Lamar Jackson. San Francisco. All right, we get back down to level here. I know at the first-round pick, you're saying, oh, my gosh, what can you do in the second round? I'm going Austin Barber from Florida. Got really good size. Can be a good developmental prospect for a season because I do think he's more of a developmental guy. Still needs to work on his hand technique and leverage and stuff like that. But he's got all the makings to be a franchise left tackle. Let him develop behind Trent Williams for a season. Now we go on to the Chargers at 55. I'm going to go ahead and take some center help. Yapani Lalu from Oregon. He is the definition of a Harbaugh type of center. He's big, he's stout, he's physical, he's in that gap mold. That's really his game, and we're going to take that center prospect to be the Bradley Boozman replacement of the future here. Now we go on to 56, the Jags. Jags, we got the win. Let's go versus the 49ers. And we're going to take Lee Hunter, the Texas Tech Red Raiders. The Red Raiders! He is a absolute monster of a Raider, too. He brings the pop, and he is so difficult to guard. When you're talking about stopping the run, Lee Hunter is one of the best in this draft class at that. And he's got some explosiveness, too. Like, he's no schmuck. Like, he can be a great Devon Hamilton long-term replacement, but also just give him a little bit of pressure. Hamilton's dealt with a lot of injuries through his career, and that's something that I have to be mindful of. Armstead had a great week, too, this past one versus that 49er front. I will say he was making plays all game long. And ultimately, I think he had that. It was partially him and Devin Lloyd who had that strip sack, but I think it was Armstead who really initiated that. But Armstead and Lloyd were amazing this week for them in that defense. Lee Hunter adds another element of beef into that defensive line. And then on to the Bucks here at number 57 overall. We're gonna go ahead. We took a linebacker with their first pick. Let's go continue the defensive trend. Joshua Josephs from Tennessee. Had a little more pass rush. He was so good versus Georgia. He's been a consistent presence there. He's got good athleticism, better power than you would expect. He's a little bit undersized, but he's got good length despite that undersized ability. So kind of in the Azaraku build and mold of last season, and gives them some more pass rush for the future. Next on the clock, the Lions. Roar time. We got edge rusher LT Overton from Alabama. We're going back to Alabama. Hey, it's worked out well. And now we're going to go Parker Brailsford, the center from Alabama. He's an athletic specimen. Yeah, he's undersized, but I think he holds his leverage extremely well, and he's, it's low man wins. And they could look at that center position for the long haul. Even though their offense line has been much, much better over these past couple of weeks, they still could look at it. And when you get into tougher teams and stuff like that, and not just that, like Graham Glasgow going into a contract year, it would make sense to start thinking about that position of the future. And Ratledge had some nice blocks this week, I will say. He had a nice one on the move there, too, open up a big lane for Gibbs. Then we go on to the Colts here, and I am going to be taking a tackle. Jennings Dunker from Iowa. I just mentioned him earlier. He's like an Indianapolis Colt type of fit for me. They did invest. They got Travis Jones, I believe, the Iowa State tackle. Not Travis Jones. What's Travis? Somebody? Jalen Travis. It's like I knew it's coming out here somewhere. Jalen Travis, tackle. And he could be their developmental long-term right tackle. I don't know. We'll see how things go. And it's still a little too early to tell on that and how high they're going to be on him. But I'm going to invest in the right tackle position. And we're going to go get Jennings Dunker. He's a guy that maybe doesn't have like the lateral foot quickness, but he's actually an explosive athlete. And he's a great mauling run blocker. So for a team that uses tight ends a lot, that chip and stuff, like they can allow Dunker to be a tackle. I think in a lot of schemes, Dunker would be more of a guard, so it's really going to depend. But here for the Colts, I think he could be a tackle. So I'm going to take him here in the second round to be a right tackle of the future. Now we go on to number 60 in the Green Bay Packers. They've got some stud corners, right? Keyshawn Nixon has been playing his lights out. Had another great week despite a loss. I'm going to go ahead. I know you can't really see that. Sorry, I'm like blinding myself over here. DJ McKinley from Colorado, cornerback with some good size and good athletic traits. Going to be a great, like more of an outside corner. They got a lot of slot guys with Bullard. I mean, Nixon's been great on the outside. He's proven me there. And Hobbs, too, has been playing good. But I think that McKinney, you got Hobbs, you got Nixon, and now you go ahead and you start saying to yourself, okay, we feel really, really good about our secondary into the future. I mean, Bullard's been playing in the slot, too. So you got guys in here. This is a team that doesn't have a whole ton of needs. Center's a possibility, too. Could think about it out of the future. They're really just future thinking. This is the way I'm looking at it. On to the Chiefs here now. I'm going running back. I'm going Nick Singleton from Penn State. Not his greatest week or nothing like that. And they were stingy. They knew stop the run. Oregon like keying in on it. They did a good job with it. But Nick the Quick is a all-around three-down workhorse. Can be like the Isaiah Pacheco of this team. And a little bit of a plus on that. Give him a good run game. Definitely could use that. Jonah Coleman's a guy I like a lot too. I really like Coleman. Still one of my favorite running backs, if not my number one running back in the class. Singleton is a very good football player too, and is a very good pass protector and receiving back. On to 62 Rams. I'm going to go ahead and take a cornerback here, and Xavier Scott. Remember, Quentin Lake is a free agent, and he could get paid. He's been really good, and this team might say, all right, we may not be able to pay him. I mean, they've got the cap space to do it, so I'm not like super worried about that. But if they didn't, then Xavier Scott would make a lot of sense. Comes right into the slot. He is a little banged up right now, but Scott's been excellent there at Illinois. Their best cornerback, in my opinion. On to the Eagles here at number 63. First round, we got Kenyon Sadiq. Let's get some edge. Here. I'm going R. Mason Thomas from Oklahoma. When he came back from his first half suspension, he was excellent. And somebody that I think that brings a lot more passers. Really, I'm talking about the Auburn game. But, man, he's got juice off the edge. Let him develop in Vic Fangio's scheme. I think you can get the most out of him there with his ability to drop back into coverage as well. He does all that. He's got the athletic traits. Just needs to get a little bit stronger. Now we go on to pick number 64, the final pick of the draft. I'm finishing it with another Aggie. I'm going Chase Bisontis, the left guard there. He's another one of those dudes that caught my attention as a freshman. Immediately, this guy was opening up lanes. He's a solid pass protector as well. Can continue to get better at that, but David Edwards is a free agent. So I feel like they may need to start thinking about McGovern's a free agent too. So you got Cedric Van Pran. Maybe he can be the future there. Ultimately, I want to continue to invest in the position. So that's going to do it here for this 2-round Tuesday. Let me know what you think, agree or disagree. I hope you guys have a really good day and a lot of fun, man. I love mock drafts, and we're going to be doing a couple of team mock drafts too this week. So we'll get ready for those. I'm still trying to figure out what teams I want to do right now. It's going to be interesting because I'm trying to do teams, of course, that I feel like I know where we can go and stuff like that. So we'll see what I want to do. But let me know if you have any suggestions, what team you want to see. I hope you guys have a really good one, though. I'll be talking to you soon. Thanks for hanging out. I'll see you later.